My name is Sunny Chase, and I am very grateful and honored to be with you this day, in the day where we are going to be joined by Mynoo Maryel very shortly, and we are entering into the 39th Pearl of Wisdom. Jubilant, jubilant, jubilance. And for those of you who do not know who Mynoo Maryel is, she is our guide and mentor to our own miracles. She knows that life is meant to be easy, and we are armored with our beautiful, beautiful miracles and our miracle lens. And today we are indeed going to be dealing with the 39th Pearl of Wisdom, Jubilant. Mynoo Maryel shares the 7 hidden treasures in the Geode of Jubilant, how to find them, what to do when you discover this treasure, how to work with it and transform the quality of your life, whilst also enriching the flow of prosperity into all of our businesses, professional careers, and everything about our life. So I am going to bring us all together here. And we are now joined by many of her peeps who normally join around with her. Hi, guys. I'm Sunny Chase, and I'm hosting tonight. And I'm so grateful to be with you all on this solstice time that we're in, this week of the peace that we are all feeling, and the International Day of Peace. And we are going to be dealing and yummying in with the 39th Pearl of Wisdom. And here is our beautiful Mynoo Maryel to join. Hello, Mynoo.
Hi, Sunny. Thank you. Great to have you hosting this with us today.
Thank you.
So Sunny's had a very quick lesson on working the technology. And you've been doing a great job. So
Thank you. We're
great.
all joining, and we're all excited to be coming in and learning what's inside all of our geodes.
Great. Thank you, Sunny. So we shall begin. I really liked the description for today, which is the hidden secrets in the Geode of Jubilant. And a geode, I'm sure many of you already know what it is. It's a little bit like, like this is a geode. It's like, looks like nothing but a rock. Okay. And when you open it up, it in fact has got these crystals in it. And it's a tiny little one, but you can get really big geodes. And often you get them just a part of an actual geode. But this one really demonstrates exactly what we are talking about. So the Geode of Jubilant. Jubilant itself can be, a word, and it's a nice positive word. The 7 hidden secrets inside the Geode of Jubilant. It was exciting for me to go into this 39th Pearl and see, okay, what are these hidden secrets? And that's what we are going to be talking about. Now, before I even begin, I just want to reiterate that a pearl of wisdom is a pearl when each one of those is so whole and complete that by itself, if we only focused on this one pearl and did everything that chooses to come through as a learning about that particular pearl, it can have an impact on making this world a world that works for everyone. And having Jubilant as one of those is very exciting. So let's begin with the first hidden secret. The first hidden secret in Jubilant is it's full of joy. It's joyful. So it's full of joy. Now, having a treasure trove that has got a collection of joy actions, joy thoughts, joy vistas, and actually having that already accessible and available to you can be quite exciting. And applying yourself to consciously start building this treasure trove of joyful activities can be a great thing to engage in. And it is one of the hidden secrets that the Geode of Jubilant already comes with. So when you choose to work with this particular pearl of wisdom, and you step in to look at, well, what is inside it, you will automatically be in the frequency of identifying and mining, if you like, that which gives you joy. And the consequence of engaging in actions that give you joy is happiness. So happiness is something that becomes available to you as you start mining the treasures of joy-filled actions that are naturally held in this pearl of wisdom called Jubilant. In my world, I always talk about that, you've heard me say a few times that really who I am is a guide and mentor to your miracles. And a miracle is where something beautiful occurs that makes your heart sing. Your heart is beating, that is the song of the heart. That means a miracle is here right now. Right? So if we just focus on the first hidden secret, joyful, and we enter the realm of jubilant, one of the things that I have found is about happiness. Happiness is one side of a decision coin, and it's a decision that we make about how we choose to look at life. It's a decision of our perspective. So when you made the decision of happiness, what do you do once you've decided about happiness? You take actions that give you joy. So what this pearl of wisdom, Jubilant, allows you to do when you engage with the first secret is it plugs you into the frequency of joy in a way that could have taken various steps. But the moment you say, right, I'm actually going to work with Jubilant this time, you're plugged into that frequency. And what rises to the surface there is our memories, thoughts, visions, synchronicities that come together that really make you feel joyful. Jubilant by itself is full. The Geode of Jubilant is full of joy. And joy is like I say, happiness. You don't do happiness. You just make a decision to be happy. That's it. What you do is actions, right? There is no action called happiness. You can do a happy dance, and that's a dance that you do that gives you joy, and happiness is the consequence. But for you to make a choice to do the happy dance, you would already have made the decision to be happy. So that's all to do. When you're talking about being happy, you go, okay, I make the decision to be happy. And then I'm going to work with this pearl of wisdom, Jubilant. And the first thing I'm going to do is deep dive and look at these hidden gems of actions that give me joy, thoughts that give me joy, beliefs that fill me with joy, people, vistas, places. I mean, the interesting thing about 2020 was that, none of us could travel. We were like in our homes. So for me, certainly, when I was engaging with Jubilant and I was looking at, okay, what are the things that give me joy? And here I am having had COVID. So of course, nobody was allowed to come into my building even, and I'm there in my room by myself. I went into all these amazing wonders around the world, where 24/7 live webcam is there. It's there in different parts of the world. You can literally do a search and go visit. Unfortunately, I have traveled the world a lot, so I knew the places that truly filled my heart with joy-filled wonder. So, Venice was one of my favorite places, favorite spots. The Grand Canal and, the live 24/7 just had this water becoming clearer and clearer and clearer by the day as the hive of activity receded. And so you can do lots of things. There is so much available to us. And when you enter this Geode of Jubilant, you automatically are plugged into finding actions that give you joy, that you have already engaged in, people that are already in your lives, the kind of words that you might have heard that really bring that joy into you. So I often say to everyone that, we can be on a quest to find happiness. The moment you make the decision, it's done. How you experience that happiness comes into your current reality when you proactively start doing that which gives you joy. And by being in the Geode of Jubilant, what you activate are these yummy synchronicities. Like Gail, we are in the middle of a journey into miracles right now. And Gail shared a photograph today. I woke up in the morning with this photograph from her. And this photograph actually had, the statue of the elephant god Ganesha and a few crystals, all just beautifully arranged. And we've been seeing her online, for the last 5 days. So we sort of have a sense of the background of her room. Had never seen this. And it turned out that she was just visiting a thrift store with a friend. And this was there exactly arranged in this form. So she goes and gets it. But this is what happens. You activate the synchron. They're there all the time anyway. We just don't necessarily have the time to stand and stare and notice. So it's pretty cool that Jubilant, reminds you, decision to be happy, actions that, that give you joy, and off you go. I always say in everything that I do, I always say, take your mind along. If something doesn't feel good, you don't need to, push it to one side and attempt positive thinking. There's no need to work hard at all, really. Life is meant to be easy. And where it becomes tough is when we don't acknowledge how we feel at any particular point in time. So there you are inside this amazing, humongous Geode of Jubilant. You use acknowledgement as your tool, as a modus operandi. And in you acknowledging yourself and how you feel in any particular moment, you're able to literally dissipate those emotions that don't serve you. And that in itself, to know that you can actually do that, fills you up with joy. And I always say, whatever you may say or do, whatever boundaries you may create yourself, I'm at work now, or this is my playtime, work doesn't come in here, everything coexists. Everything coexists, right? And you can choose to operate in whichever way you like, but the reality is everything coexists. So you may as well, when you are doing something proactive, like working with these pearls of wisdom and implementing each of the 7 pieces for each of the pearls, you just go and you're looking at the lay of the land, always do it in a full spectrum way. So there I am looking at joyful, these joyful wonders and gems hidden in the Geode of Jubilant. I look at physically what's there that gives me joy. Physically, and always. You can start from outside of you and you work your way into you. Or you can start from into you and work your way outside. But do it physically. What's there that gives you joy? I can pull off wearing these amazing colors, and glitter gives me joy. Not everybody can. And I've got this inner thermostat, which means if it's too cold, somehow my body recalibrates and I don't feel like I'm dying. I may for a day or two, and then it just recalibrates and it's fine. And the other way, if it's too hot, so that gives me joy to know that. To be able to, go from talking to a hardcore business to really bringing about very deep physical and emotional healing, and to be able to do all of that within a matter of minutes at the same time, sometimes even with the same person, that gives me joy. So here I am, like literally looking at me personally and then going out from there. Having access to technology like this, seeing how rapidly Zoom and other technology platforms have evolved and developed to give us a secure environment to be sharing and working through some really big pieces. That gives me, great joy. And so that's like the environment piece. It's also the social piece. So full spectrum living is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental. And look, how much time have I taken in sharing a few things like this? Less than a minute. Doesn't take long, And if you have the tendency to overthink things, don't beat yourself up, because that is a very important skill to have in certain situations. So what about having that as something that gives you joy, that you have it and others don't? So look at the lay of the land. Lay of the land always begin when you're implementing any of these 7 things, in any of the pearls, always begin with the lay of the land. What that does is it takes your mind along. It anchors you in current reality. And when your mind comes along, remember how strong it is, because its job is to ensure you survive. So given the strength of the mind that you already possess, if you take it along and you're on a journey of entering this Geode of Jubilant, and the strength of your mind is with you, each of these hidden secrets will further sharpen your ability to access what this hidden secret is about in a laser sharp way. Your heart always presents you in the now. It's only the mind that can take you off. But if the mind is going along, you are anchoring all these observations in the now. And what exists in the now? There's just you and what is, nothing else. And what follows a now? Another now. There's pace to it. There's momentum to it. When you have pace and momentum applied to, things that actions and things that make you full of joy, it becomes a regenerative activity and it starts to regenerate itself. And you switch from surviving to thriving. And your mind is going along with you, working with, at least 2 of the 10 commandments, which determine the foundation upon which you're building your life now. It's pretty cool, really cool. Whether or not you made the decision to be happy, when you start working through this, the decision to be happy becomes like a de facto decision. And you can, proactively go acknowledge, okay, right, done. I've got it. I make the decision to be happy. Because the other side of this decision coin of happiness is suffering, which also is only a decision. Nothing makes you suffer. You make the decision to be in suffering and you start seeking justification in that which causes you pain. But it's just a decision. You can experience pain and still not suffer. You may feel uncomfortable, but it depends on your decision. A stark example of that situation was my mother. She was quite ill, and she started having a series of heart attacks from the age of 32. So she was in and out of hospitals and often on drips and things like that, and lots of tests. So her veins became so hard that they would find it very hard to find a vein to extract blood or put a drip in. So they would be poking her body, and it was pretty awful to watch. So she must be in a lot of pain. And she would often say to us, hey, relax, it's just my hand. Or relax, it's just my ankle. And all we could do was just cry, looking at her. But with hindsight, just really got that she made the decision to be happy, as opposed to decision to be in suffering. So even though she was in pain and actions were being taken that would cause her more pain, she was still in the magic and wonder of that which gave her joy in that moment, which is a knowing that her body is distinct than her soul, and it is a carrier for her soul. So yeah, it has to be taken care of. But she doesn't become the pain that her body is feeling. But that would be, really mining the joyful hidden secret of this Geode of Jubilant. The second hidden secret is a great one. It's Unblock the Blocks. So what is a block? Okay, right, like that. We all have blocks. If there's a way of unblocking it, that's good. So what is a block? A block is something, a stubborn attachment. A block is a stubborn attachment to a prescribed way of doing something. So when you experience block in anything, detach yourself to where you are experiencing the block. Go and look for where in your life are you stubbornly attached to a prescribed way of doing something. And all you have to do is to release that stubborn attachment. You can still do that thing in that way. It's the stubborn attachment that places the vibration of a block. So when you choose to open up the Geode of Jubilant, knowing that it is a pearl of wisdom, and you're going to work with this hidden treasure, the lay of the land that you will engage in is, again, look at full spectrum and see. You don't need to go looking for blocks. You just see, when you look at your physical side of living your life, are there any blocks that come up? And there may be none. That's fine. You look at on the mental side. Is there anything that I classify as a block? And the moment you get that, you just jot it down. There's nothing more to engage it there. But the moment anything that you give the label of a block shows up, all you have to do is to look at, okay, where am I stubbornly attached to a prescribed way of doing something? You can still be very sensible about how you go about doing things. The stubborn attachment is the one that brings the vibe of a block into your field, and blocks start showing up. Just by the virtue of making the decision to enter and examine and look for the hidden secrets in the Geode of Jubilant, and work with this second hidden secret, you are automatically easing off the stubborn attachment. And despite that, if you see any particular blocks, you just have to find the stubborn attachment and release it. Release the stubborn attachment. The question often people ask is, well, how do I release it? I'm stubbornly attached. I don't even know that I was stubbornly attached. Now I've discovered, and you're saying release it. I mean, it's like, how? Is it as simple as that? It actually is. And if in your declaration lies the power. So the first thing you've done is you've acknowledged that you're stubbornly attached. In your acknowledgement of that stubborn attachment, given that it was propelling the vibe of a block, which is a negative energy, how does acknowledgement work on negative energy? It becomes that very laser sharp focused weed killer. It already squirts that weed killer in the root of that which causes the block. So already in your acknowledgement that this is where I'm stubbornly attached, that stubborn attachment is already starting to get weakened. And then you combine with acknowledgement the power of your declaration. That, okay, I release this. That literally pulls the root out. Now you have to throw it away. You can put it into the compost bin that is rich with life, that is going to just transmutate the state of this root into something that nourishes. Or you can literally, dispose of it in another way, whatever is sensible. But you already know that root has been uprooted, and it's not attached to your own tree that is blossoming how you show up in the world. So when you make that choice of, okay, I'm entering the Geode of Jubilant, you're already acknowledging Jubilant as a pearl of wisdom, working through and finding these 7 hidden secrets, applying them to the lay of the land. You've already made a declaration and a choice that you're going to be working with things and elements that are going to make a world that works for everyone. And it begins with you. Your world begins with you and it ends with you. And it expands from there. So very practical discovery of where you are stubbornly attached to a prescribed way of doing something, acknowledging it, making a declaration to release the stubborn attachment. Then you can actually look at, okay, so now what are my logical next steps? You were stubbornly attached to something. You aren't just going to give it away just like that, because your mind will not go along with that. Stubborn attachment has got somehow, there's some connotation that the mind makes that it is important for your survival. Do the first few actions first, and then you engage with, okay, so what am I going to do next? Bring your mind along. How do you know that the mind is in action, is active? You have that little voice in your head, and it's that little voice that is saying, what little voice is she talking about? That one. And that's often the mind. Don't ignore it. It just screams louder. Acknowledge, use that power. Make a choice, make a declaration. Mind starts to say, okay, yeah, she's not just floating away, she's, or he is really engaged with this stuff. The third hidden secret in the Geode of Jubilant is it's bountiful. It's full of bounty. I mean, there's a buoyancy even in the phrase of bountiful. You know how I talk about every word has an innate vibration. The innate vibration of bounty is it's regenerative. And there's a lightness of being that regenerates itself. So given that this hidden treasure of bounty, fullness, exists when you make that choice of diving into Jubilant as a pearl of wisdom, again, begin with the lay of the land and look at what is it that exists right here, right now, that I would say is worthy of being given the label of a bounty. Bounty also means it's something, it's pleasantly surprising, something that you didn't know existed. So when I go into the hunt for my bounty, I usually go looking for gifts and talents that exist within me, gifts and talents that I can tap into with people that are a part of my circle. Because if it exists in my circle, it's something that I have access to and I can work with it. Should I choose to? It's up to me, but it's there. But remember one thing, if you don't begin with really doing the lay of the land on you and finding what is it that is worthy of being called a bounty that exists within you, you will not find and see that in others either. I mean, I've become so present. I've really taken the physical part of my well-being as a project in 2021, bringing that into flow. And, going to Berlin was brilliant. Yes, of course, I had the joy of being with my children and my grandkids at a time when everything was in lockdown. So I did lots and lots of amazing planetary work as well in diffusing some of the conflicting energies that were also very anchored there. So I did all of that. All of that was magical that occurred. But really what I got used to, this is a bounty that I never realized I had developed, which is that I can be consistently on one time zone, doesn't matter where I am. So even if I wake up at 1:30 in the morning to do a pearl of wisdom, I don't have to over prepare for it. I just do the prep that I would normally do and show up and it would be perfect. Like, wow, so I can actually operate in any time zone. And my body clock just goes along with it. That's a bounty that I can work with. So here I am in Dubai. I don't have to do a pearl of wisdom at 1:30. It's just 4:30 in the morning. It basically means I have so much time that is me time to allow my physical well-being to be worked with. And so I take on things that have challenged me physically, like water, swimming was challenging for me. I would, some past life stuff, I think, that made me very frightened of drowning. So I've taken on swimming lessons, riding the bicycle again, taken on less. And I've asked people who've lived here saying, I really want to learn this. Do you have someone who will just come to me and help me tune into my rhythm? Because that's what I needed. It's not that, I mean, I know that the wisdom of the entire cosmos is within me. So if I want to swim, I can swim, you know? But if I needed someone who could tune into the rhythm of me and get me to work through whatever it is that was interfering with that. Got the swimming lesson fairly easily. Bicycle, I wanted someone. And people kept saying, oh, you've written it before, you can just get on it and ride again. Yeah, but I stopped writing it when I had a massive accident. And the guys that I was trying to impress at the age of 14, riding this bike in this crazy maniac way, laughed their head off when I fell and had this very unpleasant and very unflattering experience. So that was it. The cellular memory of that was much stronger than the cellular memory of knowing exactly how to ride a bike. I needed someone who would push me that far, but really hold the space, create a safe place. And I found that. And now I have one of the most amazing teachers who's teaching me to find my voice, my singing voice. And there's Gail Summers. She is working with me to get me to sing. So here I am in this wonderful place, learning all these things, having the time. It came from that bounty of my body clock being able to really station itself in a full throttle delivery mode, whatever time of day or night. You literally, when you engage with this one, the hidden treasure of bounty that you already have. This is why I love the concept of take your mind along. Because when you're acknowledging something that already exists, your mind is pretty cool about it. Yeah, it does. That's true. Yeah. And that little voice does not need to go crazy anymore. And you automatically are in a thriving place. Survival's taken care of. And you can build from there. Become the bounty hunter. And you automatically do. When you go into, the moment you open up the Geode of Jubilant, you're automatically there. All you have to do is to acknowledge. You don't even need to look far. The fourth hidden secret is very interesting. It's the label that I'm guided to use is iconic. So, okay, what is this iconic being applied to in the context of Jubilant? Remember, each pearl of wisdom, when worked with, creates a world that works for everyone. So what does iconic mean in that context? Really, what it is saying is you are iconic. You are the icon that you can be impressed by, and others will also take notice. And that sounds like, so what? Now, when you go into so what, when I worked with this iconic piece, for me, it was like, well, I think about brands. I think about iconic brands. And then I think about, well, what are the qualities of those iconic brands? And I can be an iconic brand? Really? And then it's like, okay, do I have the qualities that I find in brands that are iconic, Pixar, Apple, and others like that? And you start, what I discovered is there are 4 very specific pillars that create the foundation for an iconic brand. And I work with this with my business collective. And they can apply to you as an individual as much as they can apply to whatever it is that you are making happen in the world. So when you enter the Geode of Jubilant and you're working with this hidden treasure, the iconic hidden treasure, you look at these 4 pieces. The first one is, what is it that I am making happen in the world? What is it that I make happen when people interact with me? Which really makes me feel, wow, I'm really good at that. Now, it's easier to work to find this hidden treasure if you have done the first 3. You're already plugged into your bounty. You've unblocked that stubborn attachment, released that block, and you've found all these things that you can do to give you joy. Now you're ready to look at, well, what is it that I make happen by me being me? When I do the business work, I always say, well, what is it that you are sourcing in the world for which there is a need long after you are dead and gone? And when I ask that question of myself, well, what am I sourcing in the world for which there is a need long after I'm dead and gone? I got the answer that I'm sourcing the love of self. You loving yourself, me loving myself. That's what I'm actually making happen. Will there be a need for people wanting to love themselves? Yeah. But that creates that overarching umbrella within which I choose what actions I take. I choose the kind of projects I'm going to engage with. So for me, just coming up with a label like this is not enough. For me, it's like, okay, so what? How do I implement this? So answer that question for yourself. What am I making happen in the world for which there will be a need long after I am gone? The second piece that is foundational for an icon and an iconic brand is, well, what is the experience that people have when they engage with me and my brand directly or indirectly, talking to me, being in my presence, receiving a message from me, in my emails, in stuff that is written about me. So for me, what I found was, and here you can create it. It doesn't have to be what it has been. You can create it, but you'll often find that when you look at, well, what has actually happened? When I've been at my best, what's the phrase, what's the exclamation that people say? So when I've looked at it for myself, I found that really the experience that people have when they interact with me and engage with me directly or indirectly is the experience of life's wow. I hear that all the time. So, okay, I take that on as my promise. The people already experience this. When I'm at my best, what if I take it on as my promise? And I'm in this Geode of Jubilant. So I can now easily look at, well, what are the things that I do that create this wow experience? What are the pieces that are missing that would make this wow experience even richer? What are the impediments? I can go into that and address them. The iconic hidden secret takes you into this third piece, which is looking at, well, what are the values that are important to me, that I embody, and I want anyone and everyone representing me to embody also. You see what a deep examination you're doing of yourself? We never give ourselves this level of time. And I say to people, you can have lots of brand values that are important. Examine what is it that you embody when you are at your best. And people are having the experience of life's wow in my case. And I discovered 4 of these for myself. And then the final foundational piece is there a brand personality that embodies all of this? That just the moment I think about that brand personality, I am plugged into all the vibrations of that, which makes me an iconic brand, that which places me as an icon. Remember, your world begins with you and ends with you. And what happens outside is a reflection of who you are. And that is what the miracle lens provides. You always are able to look at what's making your heart sing. And if you're in that space, plugged into what's making your heart sing, you are able to share that with others. And they go into the rhythm and music of themselves. So finding a brand personality doesn't have to be a person. It could be a color. It could be an experience. It could be a memory. For me, it is, butterflies and a rainbow waterfall. It was just an experience that I had in one of the Bali waterfalls. At a particular point, it just filled up with rainbows. Just the sun was in a particular direction, and the spray of the waterfall, which is a very strong waterfall, was quite expansive. They just filled up with rainbows. As I was walking on the pebbles, which had water on them, every step I was taking, it was surrounded by concentric circle of rainbows. And the spray was so strong that we could barely stand in it. And I see these butterflies going in and out of these rainbows. So for me, that embodies everything. Love of self, yes. Life's wow, absolutely. It was an adventure, it was enchanting, it was romantic, and it was alive. Those are my brand values. So this piece in the Geode of Jubilant, you will discover for yourself. And from that point on, all that matters is you delivering on your brand promise each time and every time. If you don't feel, if I don't feel life's wow for me, I'm not going to be able to deliver it to anyone else. I don't need to do it to anyone else. I just have to get back into what makes my life wow. Now, if I've done if I've already found the treasures of joyful and I've released the stubborn attachment and I've already discovered the bounty, it's easy. So don't skimp. Really, really mine each of the hidden treasures fully. The 5th one is, the hidden treasure here is, the title is Love with Love. And all of my miracle journeyers already know how to do this. We as a human are the vibration of love. So being able to communicate this love with love is available to you in the Geode of Jubilant. It's a hidden treasure. And you have many, many situations and examples where you've communicated love with love. And you also have lots of examples where you have communicated love without love, by holding back, by ignoring, whatever it may be. So when you go into finding that hidden treasure of communicating love with love, what you look for is where you have communicated love with love, and what are the ways in which you do it? What are unique ways that are unique to you? And you just multiply that approach over and over. Now, when you get, and when you really engage with this, communicating love with love, you're becoming more and more and more attuned to that which you would say is authentic about you. You're actually aligning yourself to your authenticity. And that is the sixth hidden treasure in the Geode of Jubilant. Your authenticity. Aligning yourself to your authenticity. We are all magnificent beings in human disguise. It is a human disguise that gets fractured. So this authenticity aligned happens in this human disguise realm. At a soul level, you already are authentic and you are aligned. So when you engage with this hidden treasure, the first thing is to really understand, what does it even mean? Me being authentic, me being in my truth, what does that even look like? What do I sound like when I'm being that way? What do I feel like? When others engage with me in my authenticity, what do they look like as they're looking at me? What you're doing here is, again, taking your mind along, always. And then your mind will start connecting the dots. Oh, yeah, I do remember it then. I do remember that look. It is not a wish list. It is literally an acknowledgement list of that which is exquisite, which is really amazing. So when you acknowledge something that is positive, it is like providing that perfect nutrient to it. So it starts to blossom healthily. And your mind goes along. And by you acknowledging it in this way, you're really honoring, the mind's choice to keep you surviving. You're in your presence. So you're honoring your heart's ability to keep you in the now. And by allowing yourself to expansively look at, and the visions of how you look, how you feel, what sort of words you're saying, you really are harnessing that inner wisdom that takes you even further. And it's getting the permission to express itself fully. So authenticity aligned. The actions here, how do you implement this? Being aligned to my authenticity in any situation, does this mean that I can actually walk around with my Geode of Jubilant wherever I go, anytime, anywhere? Yes. It's literally like having this little thing, There. It looks like a little rock. And I know it is the Geode of Jubilant. What a great representation. How cool it is that I've found this thing. And we all have it. I mean, this is really great that I had it with me to show what it's like. Looks like nothing, and it is full of these amazing sparkling. I mean, you can't see it because the light isn't going on it, but it just sparkles like diamonds. Authenticity aligned. It's up to you. But first get to know what does it mean to be authentic? How does it feel? What do you look like? What words come out of your mouth when you are aligned and you know that you're being authentic? What effect does it have on others? Make it very, very visual, very physical before you make it, make it mental or emotional, or it then becomes, it's ethereal. No, it's very physical. The seventh one, I mean, I don't edit these phrases that come in when I'm doing the pearls of wisdom. And this seventh one, the phrase that came through was tethered. Tithe is, tithing is giving 10% of your earnings for a good cause. And I don't really give a percentage. It's like, okay, everything Everything is a cause that I'm engaged in. So it doesn't have to be 10%. Yes, I'll be responsible for what I require to live. And then after that, in my world, it's like, it's to be shared. So what it does is that this philosophy of, generously sharing, what this particular hidden treasure is about, reconnecting to the generosity of your spirit and understanding that when it gets tethered, you have access to it all the time. And you can express that generously and it multiplies. This is the one that literally takes you from sustainable to regenerative in every action that you choose to take. And remember, thought is an action as much as, picking up a glass is an action. Even the act of thinking is you actively engaging in that. So if this is a hidden treasure, and I'm like generously sharing it to make the world a better place, tithing, and that's being tethered, you become very consciously aware of the choices you're making. Not only that, you actually become consciously aware of the consequences of the choices that you're making. And the result of that is before you take action, you're engaging with the consequence. And you're choosing the consequence in the action that you choose to take. That is what emerges from this hidden treasure. A very wonderful and actually quite challenging way of owning your choices by choosing the consequence of the choice before acting on it. Just think how many choices you make in a day. So when I took this on for myself to see what does it feel like? So if today I'm going to practice engaging with this hidden treasure, tethered, bit of a tongue twister. Well, okay. So I just went into that, and I realized that, it's all about choices and how I act on my choices. And sure enough, we make infinite number of choices throughout the day. Yes, it did bring a little bit of, breaking the pattern of go, 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 go. But the effectiveness of that which I was applying my attention to multiplied 100-fold, possibly even more than that. So yes, I didn't go, it completely stopped the busyness. Because before I acted on it, I was thinking, what's the consequence of this? Somebody says something and I want to react. What's the consequence of this? Right, I choose that consequence, I act on it. I don't choose that consequence. I make a different choice. So to bring this to life, work with this. Become aware of the choices you're making by engaging with the perceived consequence of that choice, and then consciously choose the consequence before you take action. And jubilance is your reality. It is anchored. It is unshakable. It is so. The roots are laid. Your tree of aliveness can now grow and expand and spread with no limitations whatsoever. With that, I hand it over back to you, Sunny, just to conclude. And if people want to share their one completion word, they can work with the hidden treasures in the Geode of Jubilant. It is a pearl of wisdom that makes the world a world that works for everyone. You may need to unmute yourself, Sunny.
I would love to say thank you so much. I have 3 or 4 pages of notes here. I was going to just be with you and not write, and then my pen found its way to my hand, and luckily paper was around. And a few things I'd love to just quickly say, because I think they're things I haven't ever heard before, and I've heard a lot of stuff. The idea that we are going to really ask ourselves the question in our lives today. We're all here today and we're going to ask ourselves this question. Oh, it makes me cry. What are we about? What are we doing in this life? And what will really make a difference when we are, dead and gone? I mean, what does that mean? I mean, we are really, really going to ask that question, I think, all of us. And it's a big, big, big one. And I honor you so much for asking us that, because I think that's something that all of us on this call and in this world are sacred people who do a lot of stuff. I know a lot of people do a lot of stuff in this world, this room you've created here. And yet this makes us, I feel, reach farther and farther into like, oh man, we got to really bring it. So that's sort of, I mean, there are 100 things I could say, but I just feel like sort of leaving us with that as something to really journal about, really ask ourselves and get real about. So that's what I would like to say, and thank everyone for joining us today. And I know we will see many of you soon and many of you next week.
Thank you all. And I know we have an integration call with a previous Journey into Miracles alumni. So you're suddenly seeing lots of people entering the waiting room. That is what we here. So those of you who are part of the Pearl of Wisdom, please go ahead and you can lead the meeting. Thank you, Sunny, for hosting me. And we will move on to the integration call with our miracle journeyers. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.